Hello, welcome to CLSP Politics. Sean Briscoe speaking. I did this same show in March that I'm doing today, mostly because I didn't think Schumer would capitulate to the Republicans, but yet he did. And we all know how that turned out. So, uh, we're back to a government shutdown. So I just thought I'd go over again what that really looks like, and I did some more statistical analysis as far as like how much it's really going to cost per day, things of that nature. So let's get started and see how bad can be. Okay, national parks and museums. Well, uh, the parks will remain physically accessible. Yeah, so you'll actually be able to drive into them. So any of you that have gone to the national parks, like I have, I did Arches and Canyonlands on like Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. It was amazing. There was only me, my buddy, and one van of Japanese tourists. Uh, and it was cold, but it was awesome. And no crowds, no nothing. It was great. So it's going to be a lot like that, but with crowds and stuff. But no services, which is kind of weird because when you dig around into it, it's like trash collection, things of that nature. Well, if you don't collect up the trash, you just attract bears. So I don't know really how safe some of these parks are going to be. Anyway, something to think about. When you're talking about museums, well, really everyone just talks about the Smithsonian because that's really the big federally funded museum. Although lots of museums have federal funding built into them, this is the one that's funded and personnel and everything is all federal. They will all be closed down, which is a bummer because a lot of people travel and make plans months in advance to go visit those museums because they are absolutely amazing. I'm just trying to lock down 4 days where I can just do the air and space, because I've been told you need about 4 days for that. The IRS facilities. So there's a lot of questions about the IRS, and if you look at how much Doge is cut out of the IRS, most of that's in prosecuting companies and buddies of Trump. So good news is that won't affect IRS, checks being cut for, that kind of thing. But like, if you're trying to still manage your tax refund, if you're looking for assistance in getting your tax refund, if you're looking for any help getting all that together, you're SOL because there's nothing going on there. They're going to furlough most of those employees to handle that. And the downsizing has had various effects on the federal government as far as the IRS goes, and it's going to cause delays. Now they're saying that the checks won't be delayed, and I mean, no offense, but these guys have the credibility of nothing. So feeling like I'm just going to wait and see on that one. But if they do delay checks, I'm hoping it's only a couple weeks. And yeah, but this actually isn't the worst part of this entire shutdown. Real quick, like and subscribe if you wish to support this channel. You can go to my YouTube. There's a PayPal account, CLSP and PayPal, CLSP Politics on PayPal. Or you can go to my Substack and just become a paying $5 a month member, which would be awesome because that's more of a continuous, help. All right. Federal Housing Administration. So anything that involves processing of loans, all that stuff, urban development, the HUD stuff, it's all delayed and with reduced staffing. So good luck. They already gutted most of these programs with Doge anyway. So nail in casket as far as the Federal Housing Administration goes. Small Business Administration. Now we're getting into the money for businesses, which apparently Republicans are supposed to be super pro-business, but I'm not feeling it. The SBA stops processing most new business loans. However, it will disperse loans program continue to operate. It's, again, Doge gutted a lot of this and consolidated a lot of these offices, and they were in the middle of rehiring, which, by the way, all stops when the federal government shuts down. So good luck with that. Food and Drug Administration. So unless there's like a real big problem, they're not going to do anything. Environmental protection, same. Well, yeah, basically, if you're a polluter, this is Christmas for you. Passport services, sketchy at best. So if you're looking to travel, you have about 72 hours. Figure that out. Federal courts, uh, if the shutdown's prolonged, big problems. Like they won't bring on any new cases, especially civil, but they'll try and deal with any, criminal stuff that comes up. But there will be a point where they're just like, can't pay anybody. So that's that. Government loans and permits. Well, all that's going to be halted. That was already being halted. Now it's super halted. Doge gutted a lot of the loans and permits programs and consolidated a lot of that. So that was already on the ropes, and this shutdown should pretty much nix any of that happening. So if you require loans and guarantees for your programs or anything that you're doing, probably not going to happen. Mandatory spending programs. Now, these include like Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare. They should be continuing sending payments, but a lot of the customer services, so a lot of these new programs that they've implemented in the federal government regarding Medicaid, Medicare, and all that. If you need any assistance beyond where you're at right now, your SOL, you expect lots of delays, if not just, and by delay, I mean busy signal on the phone, can't get your information even in. And even when it gets there, there's no one really to process the paperwork in a timely manner. So when they say delays, they mean might as well be stops. So we'll see. Veteran services. Now, they say the VA is going to be fine. And it has been in the past, and it's an area that Congress doesn't like to play with. So I think where you're going to see is a lot of administrative delays in VA. If you're already in the VA. Also, if there's any counselors or anyone dealing with PTSD that goes to a group or whatever, I believe those are all going to shut down. But as far as like physical therapy, that kind of stuff, I think that's still going to be operating. Air travel, air traffic controllers and Transportation Security Administration. Last time they asked everyone to work without pay, and there was a lot of sick outs, if you mean, protesting the work without pay problem. So they mostly just took a walk or went or took all their vacation time. So if you're traveling on an airplane, well, you understand about air travel. There's some really good programming and information on this. We never actually recovered from when Reagan broke the unions in air travel. We're still 15,000 air traffic controllers down from what we need to be what we would consider the standard level of active action. So what's going to happen is even more of those are going to be put down. So which means it's going to be more delayed flights, more danger to the general population. So that's going to be real bad. And this is probably an area where we're going to see the most obvious impact, because it's hard to tell who's on a phone and getting a busy signal. It's a lot easier to tell when planes aren't taking off or landing properly or, running into each other or whatever is going to happen. It's not going to be good. These guys have a very important job. So law enforcement also going to work without pay. Not sure I think that's going to work out too well for, everyone. And so, yeah, that should be interesting. That includes border protection. So there's your secured borders, Republicans. Bye-bye. So that should be interesting. Active duty military members and other departments of defense personnel are required to work without pay. Again, these guys were already being sent. All right, what, he's going to send them into Portland now? So all those guys being sent into Portland without pay. So they're going to quit their job where they were getting paid. Not quit, but they're going to stop working there. And then they're going to go and do a job they're not going to be paid for. I'm sure it's going to work out great. Effect on federal employees. So non-essential federal employees are furloughed without pay, although Congress has given them back pay in the past. So we'll see how that works out, because this Congress is just terrible. Exempt employees, such as air traffic controllers, which we talked about, are required to work without pay. And we already saw how that's going to work out, and we already talked about that for half a minute. So I'm pretty sure this is covered. Not great. Contractors. Now, what's interesting is my girlfriend's a contractor with the federal government, so I hope she is going to be okay. Yeah, so there's direct federal employee. Typically, they're not, I mean, these are contractors that are not federal employees, right? And they're not guaranteed back pay or time lost during the shutdown. So that'll be interesting. See how that plays out. And I don't think people realize how much contractors do on military bases. So they deal with fencing and perimeter construction, new development on bases. Those aren't military guys building those new housing on the bases or the new offices on the bases. Those are contractors doing that. So having grown up on an island with lots of military, I've had some experience with that. And yeah, and I was there during the Clinton shutdown. So yeah, should be interesting. How much did the last government shutdown cost? Well, I did some math. So December 22nd, 2018 and January 25th, 2019, yes, the last Trump administration, that one cost us about $11 billion of economic loss. So that comes out to about $323,529,411 per day. So every day after October 1st, let's just assume it's more than, $500 million gone. Poof. So remember how much they cut, those hundreds of millions of dollars they cut from the food assistance programs? Yeah, that's where it is right now. So every day, that's how much we burn. Now, there's a chance we can get some of that back on the back end, but honestly, this Republican Congress has no shame, and you can't negotiate with them because Trump will just go in and remove whatever things you got in the negotiation. So there's really no room for negotiation with these guys, because it's hard to negotiate with people who don't, or do under false pretenses. So I'm not convinced that we're going to get much of this back. The CBO found that the shutdown caused a drag on the economic growth, most of it which was temporary, but with a permanent loss of about $3 billion out of that $11 billion. Like I said, we're going to lose. This is a lose-lose for sure. And in theory, in the past, before Doge and before COVID and before everything else and before these Republicans went absolutely nutso over the last 8 months, yeah, we got $3 billion back. I doubt we're going to get that back. That was only really a relatively short shutdown too. It wasn't like it was very long. I don't foresee this one being a short one, but we'll see. The lost productivity, though, of federal workers. Anyway, it turns out that we lost 56,940 years worth of productivity, if you do the math. I'll say that again. 56,940 years worth of productivity was lost through furloughed or work without pay lost. It's insane. Government shutdowns from various, fee services, it, national park closures. The last one, 2013 cost us about $500 million. I would imagine, shit, inflation alone, right? That should be 2-3 times that would be my guess, just on the national parks and tourism end of the equation. Well, like and subscribe. Just to remind everyone, if you wish to support this channel, you can go to YouTube, CLSP Politics, and Substack, also CLSP Politics. Administrative costs, agencies required costs associated, incurred costs because of the delays. So we're not just talking about once everything gets turned back on, we're still going to have costs built in. And delayed spending is also going to hurt, small businesses, those contractors we talked about. This whole thing, it's like throwing a rock in a pond and these ripples that just go out. So yeah, the delayed services, just when you're building on federal property, there are lots of permits and things. Well, those permits have expiration dates. So you build out those permits so that you can hit your mark and build whatever it is you're building, whether it be roads or buildings or what have you. Well, they're gonna have to go back into those permits and do those again. Some of those permits take a while to get. And I've worked with the federal government a little bit. It's a real pain in the butt when everything's running well, because it's not just you trying to get re-permitted. It's going to be all the other contractors trying to get re-permitted. So it's a real backlog on an already stressed program. So yeah, it's going to be pretty bad. So just that 16-day shutdown in 2013 during the Clinton administration cost about $20 billion in a reduction in GDP. So that was 2013 dollars. So yeah, that's not so great. So we'll see how it goes, right? We've got 2 shutdowns during the Clinton administration, a total of 26 days, cost millions in lost revenue. Yeah. Oh, by the way, that was the Republicans playing games in Congress that shut down the government those 2 times, just so we're all clear. Republicans, when they're in charge of Congress, generally have a terrible impact on the economy. We've talked about that before. So my thoughts are this. If there's anything that you need to get done paperwork-wise, get it done now. You have 72 hours from me, and I'm going to post this immediately, this being Sunday. You have 72 hours, or probably 71 hours by the time this goes up. So better get to work. All right, everybody. Got a show going out on Monday. I should have a show pretty much almost every day this week coming up. I'm going to do a special show on the shutdown once it happens. So I'll be in touch. All right. Talk to you guys later. Have a good one.